Good afternoon from the Circus Sports of the Mint Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Ross Johnston. The Music City Bowl kicks off at 4:30 today between the Tennessee Volunteers and the Illinois Fighting Illini at Nissan Stadium. Cover 2 will only be an hour today with Vol Network pregame coverage starting at 2 o'clock. Auburn has had a couple transfers this week with wide receiver Cam Coleman entering the portal a few days ago. And today, 5-star quarterback Deuce Knight entered the portal as well. It's been a rough day for the Diggs household today as the Cowboys have released corner Trayvon Diggs, who will be a free agent once he clears waivers. Trayvon has been with the Cowboys since 2020 and was a first-team All-Pro in 2021 with Pro Bowls in 21 and 22. His brother Stephon Diggs has gotten in some legal trouble as reports state that the Patriots receiver is facing a felony charge of strangulation and a misdemeanor charge of assault from an alleged incident on December 2nd. The Patriots are aware of this alleged incident and are monitoring the situation. Lastly, the playoff clinching scenarios have been updated in the NFL after the Falcons beat the Rams last night. In the AFC North, it's still win and get in between the Steelers and the Ravens on Sunday Night Football. However, in the NFC South, the Buccaneers no longer automatically get in with a win. They need a win over the Panthers and a Falcons loss on Sunday. The Falcons host the Saints on Sunday at noon. If Atlanta wins, Carolina will be in the playoffs, even if they lose to Tampa Bay. For all your foundation repair, waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is number. We're going to carry you right up to Music City Bowl pregame coverage, which you can hear right here on 104.5 The Zone. Hey, and guess what? A little programming announcement for all you football and other F-word fans out there. Around 4 p.m.-ish. We'll be going live with our show today. Since no 3HL today, we'll kind of go live, not on the radio, because that's when the Music City Bowl is going to be played, but on YouTube, wherever you get your Twitch or YouTube, Facebook Live, wherever you get your Zone TV. And today, and of course, Blaine's still on vacation. Want to put that out there. So it's just me and Ross riding solo. No adult supervision today, so just me and Ross.
It's a lovely studio.
It is a lovely studio, I guess. But, okay, so here, I planned to do college football all day today because we're only on for an hour. I was like, we got the 4 bowl games. We got Vandy's bowl game. Then we got Tennessee's bowl game. So I planned on doing all college football. But the conversation around Matt Nagy is just kind of silly to me about some of the stuff. Now, listen, I'm not here. I got my top 3. You may hear my top 3 later today on Football and Other F Words. You may hear my top 3 on tomorrow's show, where we're going to do all head coaching talk tomorrow. And Matt Nagy's not in my top 3. I'm not entirely sure he'd even make my top 5. But the point is that everybody's writing off Matt Nagy, who doesn't call plays for the Kansas City Chiefs, because since he's become offensive coordinator, the offense has gotten worse and worse every year, isn't really looking at the full picture. Chiefs beat writer and analyst Seth Kaiser actually appropriately, coincidentally, I guess, sent he writes on a Substack called Chief in the North. And he talks about how 2025 may have been the worst Brett Veach year, who is the general manager of the Kansas City Chiefs, stacked on top of some very questionable years in the draft. Does that sound pretty familiar? It should sound pretty familiar. Coincidentally, when Matt Nagy arrived after being fired from the Chicago Bears into the Kansas City Chiefs as quarterbacks coach, was the same year the Kansas City Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill. So what do we think is more cause for the downfall in offensive production? Matt Nagy's arrival as quarterback coach, then offensive coordinator in 2023, and something he doesn't call plays for, or the fact that Travis Kelce's aging out. The offensive line, particularly this year, got injured like crazy. And they lost their number one wide receiver and has yet to find a number one wide receiver in the draft. Xavier Worthy kind of has been terrible so far. He has not lived up to being the next Tyreek Hill. You look at these draft classes and start stacking them. This is a talent issue, not a coaching issue. And how are you going to pin the issues that may be coaching on Matt Nagy when it's Andy Reid's show? So that's where my confusion lies. Now, does that mean that Matt Nagy has earned another shot at being a head coach? That he will be a good head coach? No. Truth of the matter is, you're going to be 50-50 on a head coach. He's either good or he's bad, right? Like, I mean, there's just no in between. Everybody in the chat or everybody on Twitter can sit here and say, well, Matt Nagy sucks, and there's a 50% chance they may be right. I mean, that's pretty high odds. But at the end of the day, we have to have a more nuanced conversation around Matt Nagy, around his time at Chicago, around his time at Kansas City since his return, who he is and what he has learned. Because I hate to tell you, humans are allowed to grow. They are allowed to do things differently in a second chance, in a second shot. So this idea that Matt Nagy can't change or that Matt Nagy is the scapegoat, that's a very convenient scapegoat to really shield you from the idea that, hey, maybe this is a Brett Veach issue and a player acquisition issue these last few draft classes. I mean, 2023, Felix Anudike-Uzoma, Rashee Rice, who's been injured and suspended, Wanya Morris, who hasn't really done anything, Shamari Connor is probably the best out of this particular draft class, and B.J. Thompson, Keandre Coburn, and Nick Jones. That's a pretty bad draft class. Then you have Xavier Worthy, who hasn't really done much, Kingsley Suamatea, who is starting to play in some games, but he hasn't really been a mainstay on the starting roster. Jared Wiley, Jaden Hicks, who's probably the best out of this draft class, Hunter Norzad, Kamal Hayden, and C.J. Hansen. And then this past year, Josh Simmons, who had personal issues and missed a lot of games. He also missed games to injury. Omar Norman Lott, who hasn't done anything but get one sack. Ashton Gelati, who's only got 1.5 sacks. Noah Williams, easily the best out of this group. And then Jalen Royals, Jeffrey Bassett, Brashard Smith. Again, not really great draft classes. And when you miss on 3 draft classes and don't walk away with maybe but 1 or 2 true high-end starters out of 3 draft classes, the product on the field is going to suffer when you are faced with a myriad of injuries and you're trying. Basically, what they did was like, we had a convenient contract with Patrick Mahomes that would still allow us to build the roster, and they didn't build the roster. They still went cheap on guys like Juju Smith-Schuster. They tried Mecole Hardman a few more times. They brought back, was it Valdez Scantling or Equanimus St. Brown? Like, again, and then you got Travis Kelce aging out and no Tyreek Hill. Like, this all matters in the grand scheme of things in the conversations around not just Matt Nagy, but the Chiefs in general. And to me, that's where I feel like the conversation is lost, is that it's all Matt Nagy's fault. It's nothing. It can't conceivably be anything other than Matt Nagy. Like, it's all his fault, which is just not the case. It's just not reality. Is some of it his fault? Sure, maybe some of it is. We're not there inside the building to know really how much blame should be laid at Matt Nagy's feet. But he's not the play caller. He's not the offensive head coach of this team. And he's not responsible for what the general manager does and doesn't do on the roster. So we got to take all of this out under consideration. And let me tell you something. We'll get into the Athletic article that got released this morning. But how many of you would sit down, first off, commission, but then sit down and read a 45-page report telling you everything you do wrong? Some of you would ignore it. Some of you wouldn't even finish it. And some of you would just look at it and say, they're all wrong. I'm right. They're all wrong. that says a lot about Matt Nagy, the person. And again, he's not maybe in my top 5 head coaching candidates, my preferred candidate list. But he's a lot better than what people give him credit for. He ain't, just crap. And that's what people want you to think, that he's just a crap coach. And I just don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I agree. I'm on the same page with you. He's not in my top 5. He might barely make my top 10, honestly, personally. But you look at these Bears draft classes, too, while he was there, and they're not very good either. Now, one year, 2019, they didn't have any picks until the 3rd round because of the trade for Khalil Mack to the Raiders, which gave up that 2019 first-round pick. But 2018, they got Roquan Smith, and that's about it. Great player. Other picks, not so great. 2019, they got David Montgomery. Rest of the draft, not really good. 2020, they got Cole Kmet and Jalen Johnson, Travis Gibson, Darnell Mooney. So that was a pretty good draft. And then 21 was obviously the Fields draft. Khalil Herbert was in there as well, but that's not a great draft either. You don't know how much input he had into those selections.
Right.
But not great drafts there either. And I would guarantee he didn't have zero input. He probably had more than zero input, but that is a GM decision more often than not to draft a player. So you wonder, if he was in a situation somewhere where they had a couple good drafts strung together, what he could make out of that as a head coach.
And I also look at it like this. It's not like Mitch Trubisky and Justin Fields have went on anywhere else and caught fire. This isn't an Adam Gase, Sam Darnold issue.
Exactly.
This isn't a Robert Saleh, Zach Wilson hasn't really gone anywhere. But this isn't that kind of issue where it's like, what happened with Geno Smith? What happened with Baker Mayfield in Cleveland? Those guys have proven not to be good. Heck, the Jets would just prefer to start Brady Cook than Justin Fields after they paid him $40 million. Those guys have just proven not to be viable starters in the NFL, and he went to 2 playoffs in that time frame with the players and a roster that wasn't that good. And let's be honest, I do think that some of it is like Nagy, it says in the article, it's worded that he bought into the plan to draft Justin Fields. Buying into the plan isn't the same as coming up with the plan.
It's more just like you've gotten convinced that it's
someone
right
convinced you in the room that this was a good idea.
But they're making the decision without you either way, probably.
Yeah. Let's just look at what it is that Justin, and to me, I think what I would say out of everything that happened in that Athletic article, and we'll hear from Matt Nagy himself on certain things in audio form tomorrow, but it's like he's not going to call plays. He's adamant he doesn't want to call plays. So that means he learned from the entire experience that, man, I want to focus and be more of a CEO head coach. I want to be a better communicator. I want to be better at this, better at that, and I may have to give up play calling to do that, and I'm going to give up play calling to do that. Okay, maybe he gets an Eric Bieniemy. Maybe it's a Mike Kafka. Maybe it's Doug Peterson, who has relationships with. Maybe it's someone that he has now built relationships with in his own division, with his own opponents. Like, I think someone being able to recognize where they fell short and going ahead and wanting to take the steps to correct it is a really smart way to go about changing what you may be. Like changing the narrative around you. Again, not my top choice. But I think out of all the people that have been listed, I think Matt Nagy gets the most hate. And I think it's the most unnecessary level of hate that he gets.
Now, I don't know, it's hard to get inside the mind of the people in the front office over at the Titans facility. You don't know if his, connections with people would be enough. Because again, like you said, people are allowed to grow, but the way it kind of ended in Chicago and just the overall perception, not great. And again,
no.
we talked about it. You take a deep dive, you realize it's not all on him.
Well, you also see him admit it too. Yeah. Like, hey, I was not smart. But I went away from being my true self. It's his first step to admitting it. And there's going to be a lot of coaches that wouldn't admit to that.
Exactly. That's very cool to see, honestly, because, ego gets involved in a lot of things in the National Football League. But I just wonder if they would view it as the same thing as like not necessarily the same thing as Callahan, but like sort of a guy who's a little unproven still.
He had less experience than Callahan when he got the Chicago job.
Yeah, so I don't know if because again, we've talked about how big this hire is. They've got to know how big this hire is too. I just wonder if they're going with the route of someone who has been a head coach. I would imagine they're probably trying to prioritize someone else other than him first, but we don't know. The odds are pretty high for Matt Nagy. He's the first. Is he still in first as of now?
Yeah, I think so.
So, I guess we'll see what happens, but.
I mean, if you go back and think about it, he had only been an offensive coordinator, 1 or 2 years, if I remember correctly, before he even got the job. I mean, at least in non-play calling OC. And then he got thrust into a job that he really probably wasn't ready for, to be honest. He hadn't been a position coach or an offensive coordinator, but I think 3 or 4 years. And he wasn't really ready for it. And Brian Callahan had more experience and pelts on his belt than Matt Nagy did. And we saw how that turned out. But now he's got the actual experience that can't be duplicated. 4 years of NFL head coaching experience and knowing what to do better and knowing what he wanted to learn on his trip and his return to Kansas City, I think is another thing. We'll talk more about Matt Nagy tomorrow. We're actually going to talk about Matt Nagy, Jeff Hafley, Anthony Weaver, Chris Shula, all these candidates tomorrow on Cover 2, a little bit tonight on Football and Other F Words at 4 p.m.-ish. Coming up next, let's talk about, we'll go to your phone, 615-737-1045, but let's also start talking about some college football playoffs. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 1045 The Zone.
What are the marks of a good parent? They warn their kids about danger and who to trust and what to avoid and how to make smarter choices. Hey folks, it's Blaine Bishop for Eurofix. And Eurofix repairs European vehicles, and Eurofix believes in warning their customers too. In one case, Eurofix wrote a $5,500 refund check to a customer. Who does that? Eurofix polices themselves. Why? Because not every auto shop tells the full story. Some oversell, others cut corners. Some just may not know what to do. So you could pay for something you don't need. And Eurofix makes quality repairs at below dealer pricing, has been since 1999. So get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection and a 3-year, 36,000-mile nationwide warranty on all work by Eurofix that they perform. And rental cars are available with every appointment. So stay you on the road and off the tow truck. Family owned locally over a quarter century. 5 locations. And all you have to do is give them a call today at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or online at myeurofix.com. That's myeurofix.com.
Smashville hockey. Around here, it can sound like a language of its own. But hey, if you can pronounce Demumbrian, then names like Yossi, Shea, Marchessault will roll right off the tongue. Nashville Predators, only in Smashville.
One of the largest sports books east of the Mississippi, Circa Sports Kentucky, is now open. Catch all your favorite games on an 80-foot screen with stadium-style seating and live VSiN broadcast daily. Circa Sports, now open at the Mint Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
My dad and I used to golf together all the time, but when he hurt his back, it was over.
To have your son want to spend time with you is amazing. That's why my chronic back pain has been so heartbreaking. Surgery, fused bones, long recovery. No way, not for me. A friend recommended stem cells, so I gave Kellum Stem Cell Institute a call.
I'm glad you're out on the course.
Yeah, it's really good.
Call the Kellum Stem Cell Institute today. Swing still looks just okay though.
Selling your home can be stressful, but it doesn't have to be. Get a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. There are no showings, no open houses, no stress. Work with the #1 real estate team in the U.S. and close with confidence. Go to markspain.com today.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door and broadcasting live from the 104.5 The Zone Circa Sports Studio. Kentucky's largest sports book can now be found at Circa Sports in Kentucky Downs. And before we get in the college football preview, let's go to Cedric, and we'll talk about the Tennessee Titans. Cedric, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Man, listen, I'm not opposed to Matt Nagy or McCarthy or anybody like that. We just have to do a very thorough search. And listen, I'll talk to you guys about this on Titans Talkback. You've got to include David Shaw in this list, man. He has had stints at Philadelphia, Oakland, Baltimore. He was at Denver last year. He's currently at Detroit. He's 42 games over 500 as a head coach, won his conference 3 times, national NCAA Coach of the Year, and 4-time Pac-12 Coach of the Year. The guy can flat out coach. He's coached wide receivers, so he can help develop some of these young guys. He's got to be included on this list. I would love to see him get that job, but he's got to be included on this list of people that the Titans have to talk to for his expertise.
Hey, Cedric, I will say this. David Shaw was interviewed, I think, 2 times during the Brian Callahan coaching cycle. May just been once, but 2 times during that coaching cycle. So I wonder if there is maybe they'll circle back to him, or maybe they just didn't click with what he wanted to do. But maybe now with Cam Ward, it's a little bit different.
And maybe with Borgonzi there, maybe it's different.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah. All right, man. Appreciate you.
Hey, no problem. Okay. David Shaw, interesting name. Like I said, that he has interviewed for the head coaching position before. Haven't heard his name, but we'll see if maybe that name resurfaces.
Right now, for those who don't know, he is the passing game coordinator with the Lions this season.
Oh, there you go.
In the NFL right now.
There you go. I knew he was in the NFL, just couldn't remember where.
Also, I will say, I know his Stanford tenure kind of ended ugly, but for him to have them up there for as long as he did, that's very impressive, because that is a hard school to get a lot of football talent at.
All right, you ready? Let's talk about some college football playoffs. You want to do it?
Hey, I already said what I thought was going to happen in one game.
Oh
last week.
But I know you got kind of poo-pooed on by Don and Stoney yesterday.
You and Blaine were with me.
Yeah, we were with you, and I'm still with you. I'm holding strong here on this. I mean, let's look at it this way. Let's go in order, chronological order. First game tomorrow night, Cotton Bowl, between Miami Hurricanes versus Ohio State. AT&T Stadium out in Arlington, Texas, of course. We got one of the marquee games of the college football playoff quarterfinal round with some, obviously national title implications. Miami earned its first ever college football playoff win with a I know it doesn't sound like, or not going to sound like, but if you didn't watch this game, it was a fun game.
It was a dogfight.
A gritty dogfight, like you just said. 10-3 road victory over Texas A&M in round 1. Road victory. So they've already got one. They got one win in Texas right now. While Ohio State enters at obviously defending national championships, coming off a narrow loss in the Big Ten championship to Indiana. This will be just the 6th meeting, which seems kind of crazy, all time between these two programs. And most famously, Ohio State's 2003 Fiesta Bowl win back in double overtime, if you guys remember that game. Obviously, Ohio State is 12-1, top defense in the nation. Pretty elite against both the run and the pass. If you're a Tennessee Titans fan, you'll be looking at Reese, see how he's deployed. And can I say something about this deployment issue that I keep seeing pop up?
Go ahead.
Matt Patricia is a defensive coordinator that's been in the NFL and was a successful defensive coordinator, no matter what his head coaching or offensive coordinating career was. Pretty good. He knows how to use players. Maybe he's using Reese to the best of his abilities, so we should probably keep that in mind when we go into the prospect phase of this draft class.
I saw this, too, about Matt Patricia, not to get off on a sidetrack, but someone tweeted, this dude went through the NFL going against Prime, Manning, Rodgers, Breeze. This is nothing for him.
Yeah.
Hey, Carnell Tate out there, too. I know, that would probably be more of a pick if we trade back, potentially, and could get him, but that's a guy to keep an eye on as well for the
Sonny
Buckeyes.
Styles, Kenyatta Jackson, maybe 2nd or 3rd round edge rusher, and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, you got Reuben Bain you need to watch. You also have, the guy across from him that can't remember, Masender or something like that.
I know you're talking about
the other edge rusher across from Bain, who could be a second or third round edge rusher, because they got a stout defense over there in Miami as well. Of course, quarterback Julian Sayin, 3,323 yards, 31 touchdowns, 6 interceptions on 78% completion percentage, roughly. It'll be interesting to see how Miami can slow down this offense. I don't think you're going to stop this offense, this Ohio State offense. You can only hope to contain it. And I still lean Ohio State, but I do think there is a chance that Miami could win this game.
Oh, 100%. And maybe this is just recency bias with what happened last year, but even after the loss in the Big Ten title, Ohio State is still my championship favorite. I still think they're going to win it all again. I think, in a game like this, Miami does have the momentum of having won a game on the road already, but Ohio State, Ryan Day, and staff have that experience of having done this journey before in its first year of the 12-team playoff. I just think there's too much talent. I think in games like this, we saw it last year with Jack Sawyer, Jeremiah Smith, Will Howard. Your biggest players are what puts you over the top in games like this, and I just see Ohio State's big-time playmakers making more plays than Miami's.
Yeah, 11-2. Miami, of course, 11-2. They didn't get into the conference championship, which I find just utterly ridiculous. Please fix that. Carson Beck, 3,175 yards, 26 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He started off really strong and then tailored off. And that's a guy that I think he's going to be like a 4th or 5th round pick, maybe. I don't know what Carson Beck is at the next level other than a backup. Love Malachi Toney, but I hate that his name is Malachi Toney because it reminds me of Malachi Corley and Kadarius Toney, and that may be the two worst overrated offensive weapons out there that came out of the draft. But he does have 992 yards. He is a true playmaker, and they have a top 10 scoring defense. Like, don't discount what Miami's been able to do, mainly because of their edge rushers and defensive line play.
That's going to be an interesting look to see that defense go against a quarterback who arguably is having one of the most efficient seasons for a college football quarterback we've ever seen. I think Miami, if they can get that run game going again with Mark Fletcher and them, then you got a real shot. You're going to have to be able to run the football against this Ohio State team.
ESPN's matchup predictor gives Ohio State a 70% win probability, and they're 9.5-point favorites. And of course, right now the total points are projected around in was it 40s, the low 40s, like 42 and a half or something like that.
I'm staying away from all of it.
I'm not. I don't think I'm going to be gambling on any of these, but we'll see. Ohio State excels in points per play allowed and defensive stops. Miami's defense is also elite. Both teams obviously show strengths in turnover creation. Where Akeem Mesidor, that's his name, by the way, that's the guy that I was trying to think of. Where are you at what Carnell, because you're a former wide receiver, where are you at what Carnell Tate is as a draft prospect? Because he hasn't got to 1,000 yards yet. If he's going to get to 1,000 yards, it's going to be because of the playoffs.
And I like him a lot. My thing with stuff like this is I'm a big with the draft program guy. I know that doesn't specifically answer your question, but
scouting.
The track record with Ohio State wide receivers is very good.
Very, very
good.
And
you look at a guy, Emeka Ibuka was the first receiver taken in last year's draft, I believe, or second to McMillan, and for a while was looking like the rookie of the year. Now probably not. He wasn't even the best receiver on their team last year. That was Jeremiah Smith. It's the same thing this year. Jeremiah Smith is still the best receiver on their team. I don't think that people should take that as a negative at Carnell Tate, because a lot of production goes to Jeremiah. I really like his route running. I think he's a pretty versatile guy that can be moved around a little bit. I'd probably like him more in the slot, but I like, him being moved around a bit. And I just think he knows how to get open, man. That's one thing for the Titans that I think we need. We talked about a little bit yesterday, but I like a lot of his skill set.
Where are you at on Julian Sayin in this game because, this is a pretty big game for a freshman quarterback.
Do you think that it being a neutral site helps as opposed to him having to go on the road somewhere or something?
It could be. I don't know. Carson Beck's been here before. Like, this ain't his first rodeo.
I'll say, and I know Michigan not as good this year, the better than last year's team, but him going into the big house in those conditions and having that game that he had after, having the adversity of throwing an interception right on that first drive, that, put a lot of confidence for me into him.
I'm going to go with Ohio State to win the game. I think a strong defensive showing, and that keeps it competitive early, but probably the Buckeyes offense is just going to wear down that Miami defense because I don't think the Miami defense is going to be able to, or Miami offense is going to have a lot of time of possession. If Beck can find a rhythm early, maybe Miami covers the spread, which I believe is currently at 9.5.
I was going to say, isn't this kind of one of those games you just expect him to have a turnover somewhere?
I would have to say so.
Something crucial. All
right, let's go to the Orange Bowl. Orange Bowl is going to be at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on New Year's Day. Oregon versus Texas Tech, and I think this is going to be a fun one.
Waking up and getting after it.
Listen, this is going to be in Miami, Florida. This is going to have David Bailey, if you're a Titans fan, be watching that. Over on Oregon, depending on where you fall in draft stock, you want Dante Moore to have a pretty good game as well. Oregon Ducks, obviously 12-1. They pretty much creamed James Madison, 51-34.
Good adjective.
Yeah, averaging about 468.9 yards per game, 217 on the ground, 215 passing, and 39.2 points per game. The offense is rolling, per the norm for Oregon. Dante Moore, obviously, big playability. He's got a lot going for him. He's obviously has to pretty much show out in these big games if he won't, and because if he goes out and has a clunker, I don't know if he comes out into the draft. So that's something to watch. They're explosive early, but they kind of struggle with consistency and finishing. So we'll see how Oregon is able to handle that. And Texas Tech, that defense is fun. They're top 10 in points per drive allowed and turnover margin, a plus 17 turnover margin. And they are constantly creating havoc. The offense is efficient and balanced, but with a high tempo. You got Baron Morton, has thrown for 2,643 yards, 22 touchdowns with excellent protection up front. This is one of those games where it's like X team versus the Chiefs, peak Chiefs, where you're just like, we want to play ball control football and keep Patrick Mahomes, Dante Moore, off the field as much as possible. And that's what they're going to have to do. Quick rhythm offense, force defense, grind the opponent's will down, and punch you when you break. That's what this Texas Tech team is all about.
So 2 things I'm looking for in this game, and both relate to Oregon. One, I'm interested to see how they come out because obviously, last year, their second round game, which was their first game in the playoffs with them being the 1 seed against Ohio State, they got demolished, and it was really right from the get-go. So how do they come out in this football game? And it kind of ties into number 2. I know on weeks like this, teams will leave a little earlier to get down there instead of a day before. Oregon's going across the entire country.
And it's an 11 a.m.
It's
game,
an early
which
kick.
is a, 8 a.m. their time?
So, again, I just wonder, you would think that they've had enough time to adjust by now and that Dan Lanning and the staff have had a plan to kind of combat the time change and that travel. But that's a tough thing to overcome.
Yep.
It is a tough thing to overcome. And Texas Tech, is probably a little more fresh than Oregon. Going to have to use that to their advantage.
Yeah, Texas Tech leads the college football world in turnover margin. Conditioning, clock management, special teams may decide who wins this game. And I'm kind of leaning towards Texas Tech, even though that Oregon is the slight favorite. I do feel like this is kind of like a chess match, a style clash. But I think I'm going to lean Texas Tech on this one. I'm maybe that's just because I really love watching David Bailey play, but I think I'm going to lean Texas Tech on this one.
I like it. I'm going to go Oregon by a field goal in this one. I think it's going to be a down-to-the-wire game.
All right, here's the big one. Well, the big one for this show, particularly. It's going to be Alabama versus Indiana. And I know that Indiana is undefeated. I know it's an impressive showing against Ohio State, but one of these teams has kept momentum and kept playing games. This team's been on a little long break, and we have seen last year that little long break can kind of mean slow starts. And if you allow a slow start to Alabama and you don't come out start fast, and listen, Oklahoma started fast and it didn't matter, but traditionally that's where you get Alabama in a bind. I'm going to pick Alabama to win this one. And, they punched their ticket by overcoming that 17-point deficit. I will have my bourbon ready, even though it's 2:30 p.m. We know that's the good luck charm. Indiana's averaging 41.9 points per game, but they don't play in the SEC, where Alabama has gotten 31.4 points per game. Alabama's only allowed 17.9 per game on defense, 10.8 points per game against Indiana. So I'm just saying, I don't know. I kind of feel like Alabama's finding a little bit of a groove in that Oklahoma game, and they played most recently.
Hey, I'm right there with you. And look, people, our faithful listeners will be like, hey, Zach, you're a Bama fan.
Yep.
Of course you're picking the Tide. I'm not a Bama fan. I'm unbiased. I'm picking Bama.
And I have been unbiased for the most part. You can go back and check the tape all the way to last year. I'm about as unbiased an Alabama fan as you will find.
Yeah, you've done a good job. But I'm with you. Bama just – they're a more talented team still than Indiana. Now, I would say Kurt Cignetti and his staff have done a much better job than DeBoer and his staff. No shot to DeBoer. It's just what they've done at Indiana is more impressive, in my opinion. I think Bama finding a way to win that game on the road, and I talked about this yesterday on 3HL, Lotezier Brooks, who we don't hear from all season, coming out and having 2 touchdowns in that game. Well, now that you've added another element that Indiana probably didn't expect to have to focus on with that Alabama offense, you already got 3 guys in Bernard, Williams, and Horton, who you're looking at as their kind of 3-headed monster out wide. Now you got a 4th.
And maybe you get Ty Simpson more involved in the run game, especially if it's raining. Like, there are ways to flip this script in favor of Alabama. But I think it really starts with the beginning of the game, that first quarter and a half, 2 quarters, because Indiana is all about discipline and high efficiency. But I will say this. I know that he beat Ohio State. I wasn't that impressed with Fernando Mendoza in that game.
And he's really good. We both know he's really good. And, you can debate whether he should have won the Heisman or not. He did. And, not too many complaints from me. But, again, that performance from him against the Buckeyes, not anything outstanding. First time in the college football playoff for him. And like you said, I have a tough time being confident in any team that's had this long of a break over the holidays. I have confidence in Kurt Cignetti to have them ready to go, but I mean that's a lot of time off of playing an actual live game.
Right, and the last time that Alabama was in the Rose Bowl a couple years ago, Saban's last game they lost to Michigan, 27-20 in overtime.
And kind of gave that game away, honestly.
Yep, they did. All right, final game before we get to the Music City Bowl in Vanderbilt. Let's go just real quick. Georgia versus Ole Miss. Do we give Ole Miss any kind of shot with no Lane Kiffin? Do we give them any kind of shot against Georgia? Because Kirby Smart's going to Kirby Smart, I feel like.
It's tough. I'm with you. I think Georgia's won the game. It's tough to say. It's hard to beat a team twice in a season. And it's another, it is an SEC team that played them pretty close in the first game. But I would expect this game to probably be a touchdown difference. If I had to, bet on the spread in this game, I'd probably take Georgia by 7 or so, 7.5 if I could. But that Ole Miss offense, if you let Trinidad Chambliss get going, he will pick you apart. That defense under Pete Golding's still there.
Yep.
Right? They haven't had any turnover.
Plenty of time to study that tape from that offensive performance.
Exactly. But, man, picking against Kirby this time of year almost feels like picking against Belichick and Brady at this time of year.
Or Saban, picking against Saban.
It's gotten to that point. So I think Georgia wins this one.
Georgia has just been on a tear that last month and a half. But again, they haven't been playing football. So kind of like Indiana, kind of like, Texas Tech and these other teams that got the bye. If you come out, start slow. Now, we saw Georgia erase a deficit earlier against this team. But if you start out slow and Ole Miss starts out fast, that's a totally different ball game. And I think these players got something to really prove after the whole Lane Kiffin thing. I think it's going to be closer than what the spread indicates, but I'm still going with Georgia. I just can't go against Kirby.
I know. And, it's funny you bring up Lane. This game being played in the great state of Louisiana, you know.
He may be there.
Sure,
he's going to be there, right?
I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think he will be. But I was going to say that adds, another element to this game. Probably not a big element to the game, but are they able to stay focused? Are they thinking about some external factors?
Yep.
Who knows?
We'll see. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk about the Music City Bowl and the ReliQuest Bowl. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. Starting at 2 p.m. will be Music City Bowl coverage. You can hear Mike Keith, that old familiar voice, is here in Nashville for a little homecoming. Of course, our very own Ramon Foster calling the Music City Bowl right here on 104.5 The Zone.
Do you think he's accidentally going to slip out a touchdown Titans being in Nissan Stadium? Or
well, you know he's going to definitely continue to do the sack.
He's got to.
If they can even get a sack, because they are missing Joshua Josephs. They don't have Carter. Obviously we need Jermod McCoy. No Chris Brazzell. I don't know. This Tennessee team is a little depleted.
It is, but it's also in Nashville.
Yeah, that is true.
Expect a all heavy crowd.
Because let's Music City, Liberty Mutual Music City Bowl, 2-8-4 teams. Tennessee Volunteers versus the Illinois Fighting Illini. Two of the worst mascot names that you could have associated with your schools. In a game that feels like a home matchup for the Volunteers, obviously. First ever meeting between these two programs in program history. That's pretty neat. I'm a little surprised by that.
Illinois also beat Tennessee in basketball here in Nashville.
There you go.
I believe about a few weeks ago.
I will say this. Luke Altmaier's playing, as far as I know, but they are missing, like I said, no Chris Brazzell, no Jermon McCoy, no Colton Hood, no Arian Carter, no Joshua Josephs. That's pretty big. And I do love Staley, though. Staley and Mike Matthews should be able to keep, the ship afloat. Now, no Gabe Jackas, who for the Illinois, who led the team with 11 sacks. Someone to put on your radar if you're a Tennessee Titans fan. And their left tackle, J.C. Davis, is also out. So that's pretty big right there. Now, what's interesting to me, Aguilar's healthy, weapons are shuffled around, but Tennessee's playmakers are going to adapt quickly. We know Josh Heupel's going to have these guys schemed up and ready to play. Illinois secondary is going to test, though, the accuracy and route timing of that offense. Do not sleep. The pressure on the quarterback's a little bit thinner without Jackas there for the Illinois defense, but they blitz creatively and rely on discipline to slow offenses down. I think this is going to be a pretty big fight.
Yeah, it'll be a tough one. You also got to think Illinois probably hasn't seen many, if any, offenses ran at the tempo of Tennessee's, so that is going to be something that maybe they'll be ready for it at the start, but as the course of the game wears on, if Tennessee's able to hit some plays and get that offense moving quickly like normal, that can wear on you as a defense. So I'm interested from that aspect of it, but these games are so unpredictable, man. These bowl games, I just don't know.
And Tennessee kind of gets a little screwed here and there, according to Tennessee fans in the Music City Bowl.
Doesn't happen every year?
Doesn't happen every year, but they do feel that there is some BVS, I feel like.
Yeah, I'll go Tennessee by 24-20. I think it'll be a lower scoring game.
Yeah, a lot of people are picking Illinois for the upset. I don't know if I'm necessarily there yet. I do think that to poke fun at UT fans, I'm going to say Illinois is going to win. But, I do think it's going to be, I'm going to go 34-28 because I just think that Tennessee's offense, no matter who's out there, is going to put up points and score points. And the fact that Joey Aguilar's still out there, I think that you don't really have to change anything, even missing Chris Brazzell. And it will be interesting to see because Tennessee has more opt-outs on their starting defense and a new defensive play caller, by the way. But I don't know if Illinois can keep up with the pace and the firepower of the Tennessee offense. So I'm going to say 34-28 Tennessee.
I like it. I think that crowd will have some impact, too. I expect there to be a good amount of Illinois fans there.
And no time change for them, you know what I'm saying? It's Central Time, so.
They've infiltrated the state, too. They're all moving here.
I know.
But I still think it'll be Tennessee majority, so I think that might have some impact as well.
It's going to be fun. Quarterback duels, breakout opportunities, and postseason pride on the line for both these teams. And Luke Altmaier, he's a fun guy to watch. All right. ReliaQuest Bowl. Maybe I should have done ReliaQuest Bowl first since we're leading into the Music City Bowl.
Yeah, because you know what? My pick, I can give my pick right away. Give me Diego Pavia.
It's Vanderbilt all day long. I don't even know, to be honest with you, if it's going to be even close.
Now, Eli Stowers is out, right? He opted out to prepare for the draft. I think I saw that.
Oh, man. Did he? Did he opt out?
I think he did. If he did that,
yes, he did. He's expected to sit out and prepare for the draft. So that's a big loss.
That is, but come on.
I'm taking Vanderbilt, and I think Vanderbilt's going to win they're going to win by 10 points at least.
I like that. 27-17.
Something like that.
I like it.
Because I just think Vanderbilt's, playing on a different level than most of the teams across the country. Listen, Iowa has been pretty solid for the most part this season. But I just think that when you're a 10-2 SEC team, that's so much better than an 8-4 Big Ten team.
For sure. No
doubt.
And if you're Clark Lee, I know, you're sour about not getting in the playoffs, and I get that 100%. But what a great opportunity to still keep things rolling into next year, right?
Right.
You end the regular season stomping Tennessee and Knoxville. Let's win a bowl game.
Maybe get a little DJ Lagway is like, you stomped him, and then now you get to get him in Vanderbilt. Maybe he's going to be at the game. He's going to be watching them versus Iowa.
You got to keep a close eye on that.
You got to be keeping. Yeah, but I do think that the offensive firepower for Vanderbilt. I'm interested to see though. Iowa kind of likes to bring you down in the muck a little bit.
Oh yeah.
I'm interested to see how the time off and all the stuff that's happened since the Heisman ceremony is kind of like, where is Diego Pavia's head at?
Yeah, he focused.
So, but we're both going Vanderbilt right there, right?
Yeah, and that game's in Florida. Where's that at?
The ReliQuest Bowl's in Tampa.
Tampa? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Pavia might have been having a little fun this week.
Maybe it'll be too hot for Iowa.
Yeah, that's true.
Not
all
used
that, to that weather this time of year.
Humidity, the weather.
People up north love to complain about the humidity down south.
They do. I just think when he really comes down to it, Vanderbilt just plays inspired football. And I think they're going to beat, if they don't beat Iowa, that will be massively disappointing.
Yeah, that will. But either way, you're coming home with a double-digit win season.
That's true. That is true.
11-2 sounds a little cooler than 10-3.
That is.
I think Vanderbilt's got this one, man.
Yeah, I do too.
I like Pavia to have a big game to finish his college career.
All right. That will do it for us. We got no 3HL up next. We got the Music City Bowl will be carried live on this program. Around 4 p.m. will be football and other F words.
Why do you keep saying around?
Because we never start right when we're supposed to start.
But we can today?
We may. We don't know. I don't know what time Stoney will be here, what traffic is like.
All right.
So around 4 p.m.-ish.
Love that.
So there we go. Other than that, this has been Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. And in the meantime...
And in between time...
Peace.